Hello and good evening. Welcome to this edition of Two Up Top, the weekly football review show. Riding solo, in the words of Jason Derulo, I am Gav Mack, and you can subscribe to us and follow us on all social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch at Two Up Top Football. And did you know, if you put Two Up Top into Google, our name comes up first? Well, yes, it does. Yes, it does. Feel free to throw your comments in as well as I'm chatting away, because I'm by myself here today. Family emergency with Steven Cotton, but he will be back later on this week with some more shows, as we do have a full fixture list this week in the Premier League. So, without any further ado, let's get cracking. And the first game, sorry, and yes, I will be talking about Spurs, and that's where I'll be starting today. It will be with Tottenham. Tottenham have just been beaten by Brighton. Brighton's first home victory in nearly 7 months. It's funny, actually, the last time they picked up a victory was against Arsenal, if I'm honest. So, Leandro Trossard, he scored the only goal of the game after just 17 minutes. A really good move there from Brighton. It's a really big victory for Brighton. You know, they're embellished in this relegation battle at the moment. Those 3 points will help get them away from the relegation zone. But we do need to have a look at Tottenham and find out what is going on there, because since that victory against Arsenal in the North London derby, they have only gone further and further south. There were just 2 points separating Arsenal and Tottenham. Despite Tottenham having a game in hand, I'm fully aware of that, but there is a lot of work that needs to be done. Tottenham, we know every season they are without Harry Kane for a period of the season. It normally happens around this time of year as well. Those ankles made out of biscuits, but I'm sure they'll be able to have someone who will be able to fill in. Well, you say that. Are they going to spend any money? It's transfer deadline day tomorrow. So they've got Vinicius there, who has been quite a key fixture in the Tottenham lineup when it comes to the Europa League and in cup games. But Son, we know he can lead the line. He's one of the top goal scorers in the Premier League this season. Can he do it himself? No, not really. They brought Lucas off the bench. They also had Gareth Bale. Gareth Bale, he has not performed whatsoever since he has been back at Tottenham. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. Also, Tottenham, they're another side that once they got a goal ahead, they know how to manage the game and you know, take the game to the opposition. When they go a goal down, they're running out of ideas. I mean, like, if you look at in the first half alone, they only had one shot on target, and they only had a very few number of touches of the ball inside the opposition half, in the opposition box. I apologise. It's just not good enough. It really isn't. But for Brighton, it's really strong for them. You know, that is a corner turned, I think, for them. And the thing is, Brighton have played some really, really good football this season. I felt that they were really unfortunate in the game against Manchester United, where, you know, Bruno Fernandes scored a 98th minute penalty. They were unlucky in the Chelsea game. They seem to step up in the big games, but they're just not ever able to get over the line. So it's key that they've done this today. Danny Hamlet, he's from Four Manx One Toffee podcast. Make sure you tune into them. Massive win for Brighton, he says. Looks like Spurs took their foot off the gas after winning their last time in November. Savage stuff. Ian also said, by next week, Spurs will be laughing stock award for the second season in a row. Chelsea have asked their manager and above us. Arsenal will be above us. I reckon Arsenal will be all right this season, and Chelsea have turned a corner themselves. You know, they've got so well. I'll be talking about Chelsea in a couple of moments anyway, so it's no problem. But yeah, big result there for Brighton, massive victory, and yeah, onwards and upwards for them. That's what I say. Also today was Liverpool. Liverpool, they have had a terrible start to 2021. However, they have once again, like other clubs that we'll be speaking about, have turned a bit of a corner with a 3-1 win over high-flying West Ham. The goals came from Mo Salah, so just stapling his situation at the top of the goal-scoring charts, and then Wijnaldum just towards the end. And then Craig Dawson, just from a corner with 3 minutes to go of normal time, before, the inevitable 3 points. Well, I say the inevitable 3 points for Liverpool, but that's what we expected before the game. The first half was a struggle to watch. I was in the process of falling asleep. I just had a massive roast dinner, and I was thinking, I could have a nap right now because there wasn't anything happening. But Liverpool, Jurgen Klopp obviously said something at half time and was like, right, okay, we need to make a change here. We need to be first to the ball. We need to be putting pressure on West Ham. West Ham, I think they would have been quite happy with the point in this game, which is crazy because, once again, like Brighton, have played really well this season, but results have worked out in their favour this time. That's the difference between West Ham and Brighton. Liverpool, on the other hand, from their awful start of 2021, picked up that massive victory against Tottenham during the week, and then back it up with another one. So 6 points from a possible 6 going into next week's fixtures. So giant for them. But we have to take a moment and speak about the second goal, because West Ham were pushing for an equaliser. They had a corner which was whipped in, and then ultimate counter-attack. There was hardly any touches. The ball came out to, I believe, Curtis Jones, who played a beautiful, sumptuous swing across over to Xherdan Shaqiri. And his first time ball found Mo Salah with a touch which took it out of his feet, and then to slot it home with his left foot. It's arguably up for a goal of the season so far, and you could say that it is one of the best counter-attacking goals that you will ever see, especially off the top of my head. I can't think of a better counter-attacking goal in the Premier League. So massive victory for Liverpool, and that in turn, with another game that happened today, has sorted them out and putting them right back in the title challenge, because Leicester at home failed to beat Leeds. So that game ended Leicester 1, Leeds 3. Patrick Bamford making us eat our words at 2 up top here, and there's a good chance that we're going to have to fork out a few quid to a lady called Christine, who watches us on YouTube quite a bit. And we dug out Patrick Bamford at the beginning of the season, saying that he's not good enough. He's not a Premier League striker. He looks out of place, this, that, and the other. He's got 11 goals this season now. 11 goals. And this game, he got a goal and picked up 2 assists. And it could have actually been his goal that Jake Harrison scored at the end. But his unselfishness, just looking at his awareness and his surroundings, knowing that his pal's in a much better situation, a much better position to slot it home. So fair play to Patrick Bamford. And what I love about him in his post-match, he said that he had himself in his fantasy team, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. Just showed the humility of the guy as well. He's 27, 28. He's proven all the doubters wrong. So fair play to Patrick Bamford. There were 2 goals disallowed in this game, both for offside, both correctly given as well. The game could have swung massively. Leicester took the lead with a Harvey Barnes goal, which was, it was with the run of play, so they truly deserved to take the lead. But, Stuart Dallas, Mr. Util man, he was the guy who equalised just, I think they worked out, I think it was like 92 seconds after Harvey Barnes had opened the scoring. And Ozzy Perez, his finish was brilliant, but as again, was rightly ruled out for offside. Leeds, they constantly get praise from the media, and I understand why they do it, but sometimes I do think it's a little bit over the top. And, they will go out and lose a game, especially like the Man United game, for instance. They lost that game 6-2. The Liverpool game, they lost that 4-3. And it was like, but Leeds were a breath of fresh air. They're doing this, they're doing that. Yeah, but they lost. Whereas, they've picked up the result against Newcastle during the week, and then they've done this as well today. So, you know what? This is massive hats off to Bielsa and his tactics there. It worked perfectly. I actually said in a group chat that what Leeds did is what Leicester normally do. So, maybe that's what they need to do for the rest of the season. They do need to work on their defensive situation. I do think that they do concede way too many goals. Well, not way too many goals. That sounds really football cliche. More, they concede way too many unnecessary goals, and they don't take advantage of the situation when they are leading a lot of the time. So this, a massive victory. And we also have to remember, Leeds might be a big club and historically have been brilliant over like decades gone by. But they've just come back into the Premier League. So we need to give them a bit of props here. So, they are outperforming everyone else that came up with them. So, Leeds United, massive 3 points, massive 6 points in the last couple of days. And they've got a big fixture later on in the week. And we'll be talking about that later on in the show. But yeah, giant victory for them. Chelsea. Thomas Tuchel. I really like Thomas Tuchel. And the reason why I like him is because people bang on about Liverpool, and not about Liverpool, more about Klopp. It's like, oh, look at what he did when he was at Mainz. Yeah, but he did some good things at Mainz. He got Mainz promoted into the Bundesliga for the first time in their history. Hats off. That is a massive achievement. He got 2 11th place finishes, and he also sent Mainz down. And people never talk about that side of things. Thomas Tuchel, he rebuilt that side. After learning his trade at Augsburg, he did everything from the back of house, so to speak, in order to become a better coach. Excuse me. And he took over at Mainz and got them promoted and got them into Europe. So we need to take into consideration what he's done in his past. And I'll put in the thumbnail for this that, let's have a look at Thomas Tuchel, the caretaker manager at Chelsea, because we know Chelsea, they churn through managers more than I churn through beers. But we need to take a moment and appreciate the work that he's done. He left Mainz and went to Dortmund. Dortmund, we know they are arguably, in the last 10, 15, 20 years, the second biggest club in Germany. He got them into a second spot, a third spot, and a fourth spot in his 3-year tenure at Dortmund, which I think is pretty damn good, because the Bundesliga isn't a fanny league. It's a good league. Yes, we know Bayern Munich, they do run off with it, but Bayern Munich have got riches, they've got pull, they've got stature. So it's easy for players to make a move to Bayern Munich. And what Bayern tend to do, they'll be like, oh, okay, we really like the look of this player. Your contract runs out next season. I'll tell you what, you stay and ply your trade where you are, and then come to us. They did it with Lewandowski. They did it with Neuer. They did it with Goretzka. They did it with Gnabry to a degree. They didn't spend a lot of money on him. So that's what Bayern do. So everyone else is so difficult for them. And Tuchel put pressure on. He also won a couple of trophies. He won their version of the Charity Shield, which is giant in Germany. It's not like how we treat the Charity Shield. And he also won the Pokal, which is their version of the FA Cup. He's gone over to PSG. He's won the title with PSG, and my daughter could probably win the title with PSG. So I'm fully aware that it's not an achievement. But he got PSG to the Champions League final. No one else in PSG's history has got them to a European Cup or a Champions League final. So we have to look at that. And they only lost 1-0 to Bayern Munich. It could have gone either way. On the day, it was Bayern's day. We know that. But, PSG could have gone and won that game. So we need to look at Tuchel and look at what he can do and what he can bring. And the change of attitude at Chelsea has been remarkable in just the space of a week. Yes, they drew against Wolves during the week. They didn't pick up the victory, but just the style of play that they were bringing, they look like a different animal altogether. They've gone back to 3 at the back. Ben Chilwell was dropped today, which alarmed a lot of people, knowing that Marcus Alonso came in. But he had a wonderful performance today. And for me, personally, I think he got, I don't know what Sky said, but for me, he was my man of the match. He looks like the Marcus Alonso that last won the title with Chelsea. Playing in the left wing back position, he is made for left wing back. You can't play him in the back four; it doesn't work. As Piliqueta, just telling everyone what to do. I was disappointed that Reece James was dropped for this game, because I love Reece James. My opinion, I think he is the best English right back. Some people will say that it's Wan-Bissaka for his defensive work. Some people will say that it's Trent Alexander-Arnold for his attacking work. Well, I think Reece James is an amalgamation of the pair of them. So to see him dropped, it disappointed me somewhat. I'm not going to lie, but it was a brilliant performance. Still haven't got a tune out of Werner, but I think he will click under Tuchel. I really do. Chelsea, they've got so many. They're going forwards. They have got an embarrassment of riches. They've got some real top talent there. I think it will work. I think Tuchel will work at least for a year and a half. I think he will outstay Frank at least. And with this crop of players, I don't think they really need much. You could argue that they need another goalkeeper, but I will say that next season, they have every right to be title challengers. I really, really do. Chelsea, they dominated this game from start to finish. Burnley were nowhere, and Burnley have picked up some big results of late as well. So going into the game, they would have had a level of confidence, but they shouldn't be too hard done by or feel too hard done by losing to a Chelsea side that have got a new manager. And we all know what happens when a new manager comes in. They've got that new manager bounce. They get excited. They want something to happen. So, it could work for them. It really, really could. We're going backwards. That's what we're doing. So we started off with the game that we've just seen, and we are rolling backwards. So let's have a look at Saturday's fixtures. And the late game was Southampton versus Aston Villa, and Aston Villa picked up a victory, which is, they need that. So fair play to them. They've done and got what they need. I haven't got a graphic for that game, so I do apologise for that. But Aston Villa, they are. We know Villa have been brilliant this season anyway. We all know it. They have outperformed themselves, so to speak. We look at the fixture at the end of last season between them and West Ham. I remember we were all saying, this is the game. Whoever wins this is going to go down, and both teams stayed up. And a little word on West Ham as well. West Ham they have picked up only 2 points less so far this season than they have done throughout the whole of last season. So, you look at that, and then you look at Aston Villa as well, and Villa are doing all the right things at the moment. All they need to do is make sure that Jack Grealish stays fit, in my opinion. Ross Barkley, I think, is a shrewd move, and it was his goal which separated the two sides here. So Southampton, they have been, they've been top of the league already this season. But they've dipped down, and since their little stint at the top, they've really struggled. They are doing all right in the FA Cup. They beat Arsenal. They lost to Arsenal last week, but Southampton. I look at their manager. I look at Hazen, who I think is a bloody good manager. I think he's going to go on to some real big stuff in England as well. I can see him taking over a renowned top 6 club once one of those moves on. Ideally, I really hope that he doesn't go to Chelsea in a couple of years' time, because that will be him done. But if Brendan Rodgers moves on, I could see Hazen, who will go to Leicester. I really could see that. I can see Hasenhüttl as a replacement for Klopp if Klopp moves on in 2-3 seasons' time. I can see him going to a Man United. I really could. I really like his tactics. I just don't feel that his players personally are strong enough. They've got some good talent there. We all love James Ward-Prowse from an England point of view. We all know he could ping a ball. Romeu, I would say, is probably one of the most underrated players in the Premier League. But then you've got Stuart Armstrong as well, who's, you don't realise how much flair and how much, pizzazz that he's got, if you think of a better word. So I'm a big fan of a couple of the players there, but I do think that they need a little bit more talent and a little bit more depth. Aston Villa on the whole, they've got a couple of games in hand, and if they win those, they'll be right in the mix. And who would have thought it? Especially after VAR gate against Sheffield United at the end of last season, that game defined them and defined their season as far as I'm concerned. But Dean Smith, another underrated manager, so we should be looking at him and we should be praising him and praising the way that Aston Villa have been doing their thing. Now, there was a little bit of controversy in this game, and there always is a bit of controversy with VAR. They need to, if we look at technology nowadays and we look at the level of cameras and TVs and, and all that sort of stuff, how can VAR, I put a tweet up the other day of a VAR situation in the Spurs game, and it was so pixelated. It's like, come on, man. Does it really cost that much money to have, to have a better quality camera? I mean, I love my NFL, watch the NFL, and I look at the cameras that they're using for when they're like celebrating a goal or whatever, celebrating a touchdown and stuff. It looks like that you're watching it on super 25K HD. You could use that for VAR. I don't understand why. So and the thickness of the bars that they use, and can they get the frames per second to see whether the ball was actually kicked at that point? I personally think the goal should have stood. But it's open to interpretation. It's open to thoughts and process. But I do think they're a little bit hard done by there. But it's a giant victory for Aston Villa, and we'll have a look at the table for them in a bit. The big game from yesterday was Arsenal versus Manchester United. We did a live watch along for that with the boys from 4M1T. So make sure you follow and like and subscribe to their stuff. And of course, don't forget, you can follow us and share and subscribe, ask things as well. But this game disappointed on the whole, I would say. Arsenal 0, Manchester United 0. I must say it is now 6 games unbeaten in the league against Manchester United for Arsenal, which is a massive change to a period of time when Man United would just slap us around left, right and centre. Man United, another 0-0 draw against a big club. So you look at it from one side, it's like, oh, okay, you kept a clean sheet against Liverpool, you kept a clean sheet against City, you kept a clean sheet here, there, and wherever, but you're not scoring any goals. And when I looked at the fixtures yesterday, I assumed that Man United were going to go out and get a victory because there was no Martial, and I think Martial is a bit of a passenger at Manchester United at the moment. I also look at the Arsenal lineup, and there's no Kieran Tierney, who's been wrapped in cotton wool constantly. I look at the fact there was no Bukayo Saka, and he has been a talisman for Arsenal this season, which is a shame because I don't feel that Arsenal should be pinning their hopes on an 18-year-old. But it's what we've got, and that's the way that we are running things at the moment. So the game, it was almost like a game that neither team wanted to lose. It looked very much like if it was a match over 2 legs, and no one wants to lose. Arsenal want to make sure that Man United don't get the away goal. That's the sort of feel that I got from the game. Martinelli started wide left. I wasn't overly impressed by his performance yesterday. I actually think that Martinelli is much better when you bring him off the bench. He's much more of an impact player at the moment. And we have to remember that he is coming back from a lengthy spell on the sidelines. So he comes off at half time, and all Arsenal fans would have kicked off and moaned, including myself, on the live stream as well, about Willian coming on. But I must say, he was bloody good yesterday, and I don't know if he was actually really good or he was just the standard expected because he's been so dross for the half of the season so far that he's been at Arsenal. But he made a change to the way Arsenal played, and for the first 20 minutes of the second half, it was full-on domination from Arsenal. You'd probably say the reason for that is the lack of McTominay, because McTominay went off injured, and that's when Martial came on, and Man United had to change their shape. And you don't realise how key to the midfield McTominay is. And this is a guy, we always have to remember this as well, this is a guy that was about to get released by Man United because he was too small, he was too feeble. And he went away for the 6-week holiday because he was still like school age. And he put 6-7 inches on, and I'm talking about height, by the way. So like he literally went into the break at a very small height for what is needed in the middle of the park. He comes back 6'4", he's put a bit of weight on, and yeah, McTominay, he steps up for the big games. So him not being there made a massive difference to the way Manchester United operated. And I feel that Manchester United need they need a few changes. They need a couple of signings. They need a proper number 9 because they've got Cavani. I've got personal beef with Cavani because, as well as being an Arsenal fan, I'm also a Palermo fan. So the way that he left Palermo and so acrimoniously in 2009, I have a bitter taste against Edinson Cavani. But he's 33 years old, and like how Arsenal can't pin their hopes on an 18-year-old, Manchester United can't pin their hopes on a 33-year-old. So Rashford, I love Rashford. He is not a striker. I don't even think he's a winger. But he's a forward. He's a forward player. But do you play him out wide on the left? Do you play him on the right? Do you play him through the middle? I don't know if he knows what his best position is. And because of that, I don't think Manchester United know how to utilise him properly. Manchester United need a right winger. They've just got Diallo, who scored a couple. I think he scored a couple. He definitely scored a Panenka penalty against Liverpool in the under-23s game yesterday. But I think that you just need to blood him. I think Man United need to go out there and blood him right now. They have issues on the right-hand side. He's ready-made. He's raw, and he's 19. He's going to terrorise a lot of left-backs in the Premier League. So get him involved now. Man United also need another centre-half, I think. They need another centre-half who is going to partner Maguire. I think Maguire is good enough. I also think Bailly is good enough as well. Bailly, actually, he's changed my mind because when I watched him in Spain, he looked like Titus Bramble, as far as I'm concerned. He weren't doing bits at all. But he comes over to United and he just changed his way and he looks really good. So, just go out there and get a player. Now, I love Bundesliga. We do a Bundesliga show on a Wednesday. So I do tend to look, if I'm thinking, someone needs to go out there and get a player, I automatically will look at the Bundesliga. I'll mention Konate quite a bit. Upamecano's partner at the back. Go get him. Go get a Trimmel. Maybe from Union Berlin. He's not that old. Was he 24, I think? And then striker-wise, Andre Silva, I hate him, but he is the second highest goal scorer in the Bundesliga at the moment. He will bag. He will bag for United because all you need to do is ping balls in. It will bounce off him. It will go in the back of the net. He's not that old. If you want a target man, go get about Weghorst. He's not going to be that expensive. So Man United need changes. They need a little bit of assistance if they want to be truly title challengers this year. Because it's all good being first, second, third in the league, knocking around at the top. But are they challenging? And I'm not quite sure that they are. I think it's more teams that are dropping points around them, which is stopping them from really mounting something at the moment. So that could happen. But in terms of Arsenal, the form that they've hit since that Chelsea victory on Boxing Day has changed the whole mentality around Arsenal. They've got rid of a lot of the snakes. Özil's gone, which I'm happy about. Socrates is gone. Mustafi might be out of the door soon. Kolasinac is gone. So the team harmony at Arsenal has completely changed. And I'm not going to start lauding Arteta about it. I still don't think Arteta is the right man for Arsenal either. But there is a change at Arsenal. And Smith Rowe coming in and doing a job who I openly called out on social media as, he will be something that Arsenal fans have got something to look forward to in the pre-season, the 18-19 season. I'm so glad that he's had his loan spell out in Germany. He's been out in Germany. He's had a new way of life and learning things. He's also gone to the Championship and learned how to be a bit more physical with his game. And it's proving and it's showing. So I'm loving the fact that Emil Smith-Rowe's there. Just like Martin Odegaard. He is... I expect him to be starting a lot of games, but I also expect him to be putting some real competition and putting some real pressure on Smith-Rowe, on Saka, on Willian, in those attacking areas, on Martinelli as well, to, bring the best out of Arsenal at the moment. And as it stands, yes, Arsenal played 21 games, but they are going forwards. And it's nice to see from an Arsenal point of view, and I really hope it continues. Right then, what are we going to talk about? Man City. Manchester City, they won 1-0 at Sheffield United. Now, Sheffield United would have been buoyed after their result at Old Trafford against Manchester United during the week. But this is Man City, and they know how to, they've got two ways of playing. They've got a way of, I'm just going to I'm just going to play the most expansive football, and I'm going to slap 5, 6, 7 past you. And they've also got a way of, almost like boring the opposition into submission. And I felt like it was more of that type of game. They just controlled the game from minute one all the way through. And, it's an inspired performance actually from Aaron Ramsdale, which I don't think he's a great goalkeeper. I thought it was relatively good business. He's one of those goalkeepers that he reminds me a little bit of El Habsi, I would say, and Simon Mignolet, with the reason why he got the move to Liverpool, that he's playing for someone who isn't doing very well. So he's just constantly getting peppered and peppered and peppered. And if you're getting 10, 12, 13 shots at you per game and you're only conceding 1 or 2, you're going to stand out. You're going to look brilliant. Happened with Joe Hart when he was at Birmingham on loan before he made his name at City. He made his name at Birmingham as far as I'm concerned because of, for me, Birmingham came 9th that season. And for me, that was all Joe Hart. He saved them because you can't tell me that Liam Ridgewell was good enough and as a top Premier League defender, Scott Dan, players like that. You can't say that. So that was all Joe Hart for me, and that's what Ramsdale was doing last year when he was at Bournemouth. Because Bournemouth, they could have and should have conceded a hell of a lot more goals than they did, but it doesn't mean that he's a good goalkeeper. I just feel that defensively, Bournemouth weren't very good. So it's as simple as that. But he definitely kept Sheffield United in the game. Jesus, anytime he scores, Man City don't lose. And there it was, 9 minutes into the game, he bags, and City, put their stamp on top spot. And unless, it's another football cliche, if they don't drop points or drop silly points, they will go on and win the title. I can't see how they will drop silly points because they've sorted out their stuff defensively. It's nice to see Laporte start the game. It's a shame that it was at the detriment of John Stones because John Stones has had a complete turnaround season this year. And for me, he is a shoo-in for the England national side for the Euros if they go ahead. But it's Ruben Diaz, man. Man City, they spend a lot of money on defenders. We all take the mick out of them. It's like, well, if you're going to sign a defender, it's 50 mil. And there's another one, there's 50 mil. But Ruben Diaz has completely changed the back line. He's added confidence to Man City. They don't ship goals anymore. They don't ship silly goals. When Man City were scoring, I'll look at, for instance, last year when they lost to Norwich. And Norwich just put their game on them. And it doesn't matter how attacking you are now against Man City. Now Fernandinho's back in the middle of the park controlling things. It don't matter if he's 35. He is still bossing things in the centre of the park. And it's an absolute joy to see when it works. And defensively, they just look so astute. And so they should. They've got the money to do it. They've been doing massive bits for years financially, since 2008. So it's about time that they've sorted out their defence. And the fact they have spent so much money on it, but it's actually working now, I think it's brilliant. They still need a left back, so a left back who is going to stay fit. Zinchenko does a job, but I don't think that he is the future at Man City. I really don't. But for me, Man City, I'm not going to say they're a shoo-in for the Premier League, but they are pretty much, it's a case of it's theirs to lose rather than anyone else. It's time for this.
What are Everton? What are Everton?
I might be riding solo, but there's always time for that. What are Everton? I mean, let's be honest. What are they? Everton 0, Newcastle 2. This is the Newcastle side that have been so dead this season. It's been almost embarrassing. The Newcastle fans are losing their mind. They want Bruce out. They want him gone. They want Ashley out. They've been banging on about it for ages. Everton, they have been knocking around at the top 4 for most of the season, They even had a period at the top of the league as well. One of I think it's 7 teams that have been top of the Premier League already this season. This is a game that you should not be losing, and they did. Everton 0, Newcastle 2. Callum Wilson, he's been the main man for Newcastle this season. He's had more goal contributions than anyone else at Newcastle. I think it's 70% of the goals have either been scored or assisted by Callum Wilson, and it's there again. And now they've got Alan Saint-Maximin back as well. He's come on as a sub in their last 3 games. I'm sure he'll start during the week, and this could be a corner turn for Newcastle. I don't think it will be enough for Steve Bruce to keep his job by the end of the season. I don't think it will be, but you never know. The first goal, it come from a header, which I actually think was a brilliant header. It was a really nice move. It was glanced in. He came towards the near post. He's probably still from the angle, probably about 10 yards out. He's glanced it and it's gone far post. You have to look at Jordan Pickford a little bit with it, though, because he stretched himself out for it and he's still nowhere near it. So I want to know what he was thinking in his mind with the positioning, because why are you coming out for a corner at your near post like that? Because it wasn't an in-swinger. If it was an in-swinger and it's come out that far, I understand it, but it's an out-swinger and it's going outside the zone of the 6-yard box. So what's he doing? Where's he getting at? I don't know. Everton, I don't think they need to make any drastic changes to their lineup apart from a goalkeeper. And I think they should be looking. They can look around the Premier League and find someone. Hey, look, Arsenal just signed Matt Ryan on loan to the end of the season. Go get him. He's a proven goalkeeper in the Premier League. Why not speak to Man United and be like, right, well, at the beginning of the season, right? Why can they not go on and said, can we have Romero? There's good goalkeepers all around Europe as well that aren't going to be a great deal of money, that are considerably better than Jordan Pickford. And the only reason why everyone bangs on about Pickford is because of his distribution. I want my goalkeeper to catch a ball, man. I want my goalkeeper to stop the ball from going in the back of the net. I don't really care what your footwork's like. There's only one goalkeeper in the world that can actually do that and do it like a boss, and that is Manuel Neuer. And if you're not Manuel Neuer, I don't want to see it happening. I know teams want to be playing out from the back more, and I get that, but, to try and retain possession, etc. You can use your hands for that as well. You can roll it out. There's no harm in that. You don't need to be having the ball on the ground as a goalkeeper and show me how good your 70-yard ping is. You don't need to do it. So for that reason alone, I don't see the reason behind why Jordan Pickford is their number one and England's number one. From a Newcastle perspective, this victory has pulled them away from the relegation mire, because I was a little bit worried about them. I felt that Newcastle might end up getting dragged into a relegation battle. I know that there's a number of teams that I can think of 4 or 5 teams that are worse than Newcastle, but teams are picking up results. And if teams are picking up results around you, then you need to be looking over your shoulder. So a victory for Newcastle here is absolutely giant, and it's key to the way that they will be going forward for the rest of the season. And they need to be thinking about, at least a mid-table finish and maybe, a top 10 finish. That's what they need to be. That's what they need to be doing. But that was our Everton this week. There's only 2 games left that I need to have a quick chat about. And that is, what should we do first? Let's do Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace 1, Wolves 0. Wolves are dipping. And we said it on previous shows, especially Cotton as well. He's banged on about it quite a bit. Wet the whistle. Wolves, I disagreed with Cotton at the beginning of the season, because the way that they played last year, they started their season in July, the 19-20 season. They started in July. They started it a day after my birthday. 24th of July is my birthday, so put that in your diary for the future. But they played over 60 games in all competitions, so I understand the burnout But at the end of last season, I thought they still did all right, and they deserve to be up in and around where they finished. This season, with no European exploits, I thought that Wolves were going to be able to push on and try and break into that top six and be a bit force. I look at Adama Traore and I like him, but he is a one-trick pony. He is literally just bombing down the wing. His crossing isn't good enough. I look at Fabio Silva. I think he might come good, but he is only 18. They spent a lot of money on it, so there's a lot of pressure. Them losing Diogo Jota absolutely screwed them, and you didn't realise how much of an effect him not being there was until you saw Wolves without Diogo Jota and saw Liverpool with Diogo Jota. And look at the way Liverpool were at the beginning of the season with him in it. Even when he was just coming off the bench, he was massive. So if you're not going to be able to replace that, it's going to be tough. And Raul Jimenez, it's a shame what happened to him, but I don't think he would have been enough to change where Wolves are and what they're doing at the moment. And if they have a bad time, they could end up getting themselves into a relegation mess up. And you can laugh about it or all you like as well, especially at this time of the season, because there's only 19 games left. But there's some teams have dropped, and they could be one that will get involved in things down the bottom of the table, especially if other teams below them are starting to pick up points whilst Wolves are on a slippy slope. From Crystal Palace's point of view, Abriche is a shrewd bit of business, man. What a player he is. And I love the way he slapped his goal in, the only goal of the game to win 1-0. Crystal Palace, for them, it's so key having someone like Abriche in there now as well, because this now means that there's not such an onus on Wilfried Zaha to produce every single game. And I look at Zaha and people go, oh, he's not able to do this and do that. If you go back to last season and even the season before, he was playing a lot of his games wide left. Now, if you are the best player and you are stuck on the wing, it is so easy to put a couple of players on him to snuff him out of the game. So where else is the creativity coming from with Crystal Palace? Milivojevic, he's been in and out the side this season. He could ping a ball. He's not creative. McCarthy and MacArthur, they're not creative. Max Meyer, he's left. He's gone back to Germany now. And I'm a bit disappointed in that, because I thought he was one of the brightest sparks from Crystal Palace. And then up front, they haven't got power up front. Look, Batshuayi had a shot yesterday, which is truly embarrassing. I don't understand what he was thinking. He had all the time in the world, and he could have picked a corner, and instead he put every bit of power he had behind it, and it's just spun off his right peg and gone in the air. You're a Belgian international, man. I expect better. I want better. So, Crystal Palace, they've got a few quid knocking about as well. But why? But do you want to go and play for Crystal Palace? And that's not a dig at Palace, but they're not playing anything attractive, or they're not exciting. So, Roy Hodgson is a very old school manager. He loves a bit of 4-4-2. He doesn't always play 4-4-2, but he loves a bit of 4-4-2. And he's just very old school, the way he comes across, the way he structures his team. Palace are doing well at being, establishing themselves as a Premier League side. It's the longest period that they've ever had in the Premier League, which is a credit to them, I must admit. But they need to now start thinking about, how do we step up? How do we go forwards now? How many times can we just be satisfied with a mid-table finish? Where's the push? So players like Abriche, they've gone into the Championship. They've had, let's have a look at who's one of the best players in the Championship. Oh, it's him. He looks pretty good. He's come in and he's taken to the Premier League like a duck to water. So it's really impressive what he's been doing so far. I just feel that they need to look at going that extra step. And then the final game that I'll be speaking about is West Brom versus Fulham. Now, this game was very topsy-turvy. West Brom to Fulham to goals from Bobby Dickwood over Reed. He opened the scoring after just 10 minutes. He could have had a second one as well with a beautiful, beautiful move. Now, if we were watching Barcelona or Bayern Munich with that move, we'd all be talking about it, and it would be on highlight reels everywhere. But because it's Fulham, no one cares. And also because the ball didn't go in the back of the net, which is fair enough. But West Brom came back. Kyle Bartley just after half-time, ex-Arsenal youth product. What's he doing up there anyway? You know, massive nosebleed, but a good finish. And then Pereira, he made it 2-1 just not long to after the hour mark. So West Brom, you know, we were laughing at them when they were 1-0 down, because it's like, well, they're going to be stuck knocking around alongside Sheffield United. But they came back, but they weren't able to close the game out. And Ivan Cavallero, ex-Wolves player, he got a diving header right at the back stick to make it to a piece. So massive 6-pointer this was. It is a shame for that neither team were able to go on and get a victory. And when I said about Newcastle potentially getting dragged into something, these two are going to be down there. So I don't think they should have to worry. One of these two teams needed to pick up a victory in this game in order to make it to help it go forwards. For West Brom, as far as I'm concerned, they're down. They're doomed. From a Fulham point of view, I think that they could squeeze out of it. There's every chance that they could squeeze out of it, and you know it would be interesting to see how they get on with the rest of the season. Now, let's have a look at the table. Let's have a look at the bottom half of the table first. I like doing it that way. I prefer doing it that way. So the table looks like this. At the bottom, it is Sheffield United. They are pretty lost, bless them. They've only picked up 8 points from 21 games. Only 2 victories, of course, the most recent one coming during the week. 17 games they've lost. It's not good enough. They've conceded only 34 goals though, so you know they're in games. When they lose by a goal, so it's not so bad. West Brom and Fulham occupy the relegation positions. Fulham, once again, you know they needed to pick up those 3 points there. That would have put them on 7. That would have put them on 17. They only would have been a point behind Brighton. However, Brighton, with their massive victory against Tottenham earlier on today, has put them on 21 points. So there's nice breathing space between those and Fulham, despite Fulham having a game in hand. Burnley and Newcastle both on 22 points. Wolves just slightly ahead of them on 23 points. And then Crystal Palace, they're not exactly having a bad season, but they need to put the foot on the gas. They're on 26 points. And then you got Leeds and Southampton, as I said, Southampton, who were top of the league at one point this season. They're on an awful run of form at the moment. It's those and Leeds that finish off the bottom half of the table. And if we have a look at the top half, Arsenal, they're on a run. They are surging forwards. They've lost 8 games this season, but they're picking up victories now. You know, that was, it was. Let me try and work it out quick. 17 points from a possible 21. So it's a massive turn of form. So if we look at the form table, yeah, Arsenal will do major bits. Aston Villa, another victory for them. They're on 32. They do have 2 games in hand over Arsenal and on a number of teams in the top half, as well as Everton, who have dropped down to 8th place. They're on 33. It's very, very tight up there. And there are only 8 points separating Leicester in 4th spot and Arsenal in 10th, which is crazy. Tottenham, with their defeat, hasn't helped their cause a lot. They are occupying 6th spot, though. They are on 23 points, 33 points, apologies. They do have a game in hand over West Ham, who are a place above them, despite them losing earlier on today against Liverpool. Liverpool, they have hopped over Leicester into 3rd spot on 40 points, a point behind Manchester United on 41, and Manchester City, with a game in hand, are 3 points clear of them, top of the table on 44 points. Massive fixture list this week. We have on Tuesday, all the games on BT Sport, by the way. So on Tuesday, it's at 6 o'clock. You've got Sheffield United versus West Brom and Wolves versus Arsenal. At 8:15, we've got Manchester United versus Southampton and Newcastle versus Crystal Palace, a giant game there at St James's Park. On Wednesday, once again, all these games are on BT Sport. The 6 o'clock games look like this. Burnley versus Manchester City and Fulham versus Leicester. Leicester hoping to bounce back after their shock defeat against Leeds United, who are at home to Everton. That is the 7:30 game. And then 2 games at 8:15. That's Aston Villa versus West Ham and Liverpool versus Brighton. Brighton buoyed after that victory, but Liverpool are hitting a bit of form again after picking up 2 wins in 2. There is a game on Thursday, and that is massive fixture. This fixture rarely disappoints. So if we do a watch along for it, be sure that it will be 0-0. And that is Tottenham versus Chelsea. So, yeah, they are the fixtures and the table for this week. Also, don't ever forget that there is no room for racism. There's been a lot of stuff that's been going on around on social media. Loads of players have been verbally abused. One of our pals, Latimus Prime, on YouTube, he was on a channel yesterday. I won't name the channel because I don't deserve airplay, but he was racially abused during that show as well. So I just want to reiterate as well, of course, there's no room for racism. Not today, not any day, not ever. You can follow us on all social media platforms at Top Football on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, etc., etc. And did you know if you put Top into Google, our name comes up first? Well, now you do. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your support. Cotton, I hope you're well. It's been a solo show from Gav Mack. Won't always be like this. It won't always be this way. And we'll be back to a full team next week. But until then, my name's Gav Mack from Two Up Top. Thank you and good night.